Welcome back to our series on effective business presentations for English language learners. In today's lesson, we will build on our previous discussion of visual elements by focusing specifically on how to describe trends accurately and professionally in your presentations. Trends represent more than just numbers on a page. They tell stories about performance, growth, challenges, and opportunities over time. Being able to articulate these patterns clearly is a crucial skill for any business professional. In a global business environment, presenting trend data effectively can help you support key decisions with evidence, demonstrate your analytical abilities, build credibility with international stakeholders, and highlight important patterns that might otherwise be missed. Using the correct tense is vital for describing trends accurately. The simple past tense is used for completed movements that happened in a defined period. For example, sales rose by 15% last quarter. The present perfect tense is used for trends that started in the past and continue or have a recent impact. An example is inflation has risen steadily since January. An important distinction to remember is that the verb rise is used without an object, while raise requires an object. Using precise vocabulary allows you to communicate both the magnitude and character of trends. You can do this by using size adjectives, speed adverbs, and verbs to describe change. Different combinations of these words can convey different scenarios to your audience. To describe the size of change, you can use words like slight, modest, or small for an increase or decrease. For example, we saw a slight increase in operating costs. For a more significant change, you can use significant, substantial, or considerable growth or decline. For a dramatic change, you can use dramatic, sharp, or steep, rise or fall. To describe the pattern of change, you can use a steady, consistent, or stable for a trend or pattern. For a gradual change, you might use gradual, progressive, or incremental. And for an unexpected change, you can use sudden, abrupt, or unexpected. You can also use adverbs and verbs for a more dynamic description. For upward movement, you can say, profits increased dramatically after the product launch. For downward movement, an example is, expenses decreased significantly after implementing the new system. For stable or changing movement, you could say, prices remained relatively stable despite supply challenges or interest rates fluctuated unpredictably throughout the period. There are many specialized verbs you can use to describe trends. For a strong upward trend, you can use words like surge, soar, or skyrocket. For a moderate upward trend, you can use words like climb, expand, or strengthen. For a moderate downward trend, you might use decline, decrease, or weaken. For fluctuating trends, you can use fluctuate, oscillate, or vary. Finally, for a strong downward trend, you can use words like plummet, collapse, or crash. Here we can see a basic, enhanced, and professional description of the same chart. The basic description might simply state that revenue increased from quarter 1 to quarter 3, then decreased slightly in quarter 4. An enhanced description would use more dynamic language, such as revenue climbed gradually in quarter 2 before surging dramatically in quarter 3. The professional analysis provides a deeper level of detail, stating, despite the modest Q4 decline of approximately 16%, annual revenue demonstrated robust overall growth of 52% from Q1 to Q4, and goes on to discuss the revenue to expense ratio. You should avoid several common mistakes when describing trends. Don't confuse rise and raise. You must also avoid tense inconsistency, as you should use the same tense for a list of events. Avoid redundant modifiers such as saying increased up. You should also avoid vague descriptions like the numbers changed a lot. Be sure to use a balanced scale, as it would be exaggerated to say that sales have skyrocketed with a 3% increase. Finally, avoid the overuse of a single term, such as repeating the word increased multiple times. To conclude, remember these key takeaways. You should choose the right tense, use precise adjectives and adverbs, vary your verbs to avoid repetition, match the intensity of your language to the data, and maintain consistency in tense and style. A good trend description can help your audience visualize the data even without seeing the chart. For your next presentation, you should identify the 2 to 3 most important trends in your data. Draft descriptions using vocabulary from this lesson. Check your tense usage for consistency. Have a colleague review for clarity, and practice aloud to ensure natural delivery.